Unlock your dream property with Meeks Realty Group, where Rich the Realtor makes real estate dreams a reality. Whether it's residential or commercial, we've got Charleston to Huntington covered. Your key to exceptional real estate experiences start here. Meeks Realty Group. Contact us at meeks.us.
The views and opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 580 WCHS, its employees, or WVRC Media. From the studios of WVRC Media, the country, the United States of America, the state, West Virginia, the city, Charleston. This is the Dave Allen Show on 580 Live. And your host.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
He's kind of a big deal.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Dave Allen.
And a good Tuesday morning to you. Welcome to the show. The senior producer, Ryan Nicholson, in charge of things this morning. Bigly, Piggly, Wiggly hotline, 304-345-5858. Tony the Taylor, text 304-935-5008. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you by Thornhill Auto Group. Your next ride and your next service can be found on US 119 from Chapmanville to Logan to Belfry, Kentucky. Start your drive online at thornhillautomotive.com. We do the show from the Jarrett Construction Studios, right on time, right on budget. Visit jarrett-construction.com. Phone calls to the show, a service of Bigly, Piggly, Wiggly, Spring Street texting services provided by West Virginia's finest men's store, Tony the Tailor, on Virginia Street. Tony's hand-tailored bespoke trunk sale. I have a difficult time with trunk sale. Goes through Saturday. Custom tailored jackets, suits, and trousers. Buy one, saves 25% off or buy one at the regular price. You get one for free. For more, visit Tony's Facebook page or bestmastertailor.com. Coming up on the show, the fallout over the WVU men's basketball team not making the NCAA tournament continues. The governor has spoken out against that, as well as our first guest, Attorney General J.B. McCuskey. We're going to get to him coming up here in a couple of moments. Plus, Amelia Knisley from West Virginia Watch will be stopping by, too. It is opening day of the boys' state basketball tournament over at the Coliseum and Convention Center. Daytime games on Charleston's ESPN Radio, 106.7 FM, 1490 AM, while the nighttime games can be heard on the WCHS network of stations. All four championship games will be on Metro News Television, and those will be on Saturday, of course. And if you haven't already downloaded the app, if you didn't do it for the girls' tournament last week, make sure you rectify the situation by downloading the free Metro News TV app to do that before Saturday. All right, let's welcome into the show Amanda Barren.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. Happy Tuesday.
Had to get through some things before we got to you.
Thank you for taking care of business. Do you know what today is? March 18th, National Awkward Moments Day.
National Awkward Moments Day.
So I'm happy to be spending it with you.
Amanda Barren, of course, and I will start a brand new show next week, noon to 3, statewide, Metro News midday. And so we thought we'd, have a little trial run today.
Yeah, it's good. We have a lot to talk about, too.
We have a lot to talk about. And this guy is a big part of it.
Yes, the Attorney General of the state of West Virginia, J.B. McCuskey, is here this morning. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Amanda, thanks so much for having me. And National Awkward Moments Day might be the worst day of the year for every press person in America, as their politician bosses wander around the world and generally create awkward moments for them. So let's hope we can avoid that.
Yeah, we will do that for sure. All right, JB, obviously a very busy day. West Virginia got snubbed from the March Madness tournament. North Carolina was the last team in. West Virginia, the first team out. North Carolina plays tonight at 9:00. Will you be filing an injunction as we move into this tournament?
No, this isn't about, sour grapes. This isn't about getting WVU into the tournament this year. WVU made the tournament this year. The committee decided that they shouldn't be allowed to play, but WVU made the tournament this year. And what we're looking for is a level of certainty in the selection process that ensures that in 363 days we're not having this same conversation again. The NCAA tournament is a $1 billion business that is being decided by a good old boy network in a smoke-filled room somewhere, instead of in what we believe in a way that is data-driven, predictable, and gives our athletic directors and our student athletes and our coaches the kind of certainty they need. That how do we set up our roster? How do we set up our schedule? How do we manage our NIL? How do we do all the things we need to do to get in the tournament? Because it's binary, right? We live in a world where if you make the tournament, you had a good year. And if you don't make the tournament, you had a bad year. And it is silly in my mind to have 10 interested parties sitting in a room eating ice cream, making decisions about who those 68 teams should be, when we know it's 2025 and we have advanced metrics and we have advanced statistics and we have the ability to actually prove who are the best 68 teams. And if the NCAA wants the best 68 teams, what they're doing is not the right way to do it. Maybe that isn't what the NCAA wants, right? It's not impossible that the NCAA doesn't have a mission of having the best 68 teams in the tournament. And if that's true, then their system is fine. But I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's what the fans want. I don't think that's what the fans expect. And I don't think that's what the athletic directors, coaches, and student athletes all throughout this country thought was going to be the process. Because what we know is last year and the year before that and the year before that, the NCAA has said, we're looking at quad 1 wins. We're looking at quad 4 losses. We're looking at KenPom. We're looking at strength of schedule. We're looking at all of the metrics that put WVU in the tournament. And then this year they said, well, you did everything you're supposed to do, but your best player got hurt 5 months ago. And you had 4 quad 1 wins after he got hurt, and you went 10-10 in your league. And the part that nobody's talking about, one of the more frustrating parts of this for me is, yes, North Carolina did not deserve to be in the tournament, not based on objective metrics. But Oklahoma and Texas went 6-10 in their league. 6-10. There are teams who were 4 games under 500 in their own league play in this tournament. 6-10 doesn't get you in the playoffs in girls' church league basketball in Charleston, West Virginia. And I know because my team, the St. Matthews Porcupines, that my 10-year-old daughter plays on, won the church league championship this year. And by every objective metric, we're the best team in the league. So
West Virginia Attorney General J.B. McCuskey is here. You sent a letter to the NCAA yesterday. Have you heard back from them yet?
We have not yet. We're very hopeful that we will. You know, this is about fixing the process. And it's about the NCAA explaining why they chose the way they chose this year in complete contravention to the way they've done it in years past. And I think the problem that the NCAA has is that, you know, I've been the auditor for the last 8 years before I became the Attorney General, and I managed literally thousands of fraud complaints, right? People calling in and saying they're stealing in the city of, you know, whatever, and they're stealing at the whatever fire department, or they're stealing from me at the whatever thing. Those come in a lot. And our job was to find the difference between incompetence and fraud. And unfortunately, they present the same way at first glance. And even more unfortunately, the mere appearance of impropriety, right? And incompetence can look like impropriety, erodes the confidence that everyone has in all the systems. And so it was our job to both find the difference between those two things, fix the systems that were incompetent, and prosecute the people that were fraudulent. In this instance, I don't know if it's fraud or incompetence. My gut tells me it's probably incompetence. Go ahead.
I was going to say, just to back up for a second here, Bubba Cunningham is North Carolina's athletic director. He is the chair of the selection committee for the NCAA March Madness tournament. So you're suggesting, and he says he wasn't in the room when the decision was made to put North Carolina in as the last team.
I'm going to have you walk out of this room, and then he and I are going to decide whether you get $100,000 or not.
Well, I hope you make the right decision.
I'm serious, though. I mean, think about the insanity of that.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I walked outside for 30 seconds. It's not like you guys aren't already friends. Yeah. It's not like your colleagues. It's not like, and here's the other part of the system that's broken. Every one of the ADs in that room had the same incentive. That is part of an AD's contract, which means he didn't even have to say to the other guys, hey, I get $100,000 if you put North Carolina in. They already knew, right?
Do you expect to hear from him at all?
I would love to talk to him. I would love to sit down and talk to him, ask him what happened. But I'd also like to say, hey, I'd like to bring Javon Small to your office. And I'd like for you to look this young man in the eye and tell him why he isn't playing in the NCAA tournament after he carried a team on his back after going through 3 different schools, becoming a first-team All-American, right? And he did everything the right way. He's the best person ever. He makes great grades. He's an incredible leader. And he moved and he came to West Virginia, bought into our program, bought into the state, bought into our culture, and drug our team with the help of so many other great players. But he was really the leader. Nope, your college career's over because I think Tucker DeVries being hurt in November completely discredits every single thing that you've done the entire year. And that doesn't make sense.
9:17, talking to Attorney General J.B. McCuskey of Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you in part by Snap Fitness. Snap has a wide selection of equipment, including free weights, cardio machine weights, and more. 5 convenient locations, too. Charleston, Hurricane, Winfield, Barbersville, and Milton. Visit snapfitness.com for more details. J.B., I get it, and I said it on the show yesterday. WVU, this was before the announcement that you and Governor Morrissey had yesterday. WVU 100% deserves to be in the NCAA tournament. No question about it. It's a miscarriage of justice, in my opinion. But what would you say to those who would say that your office, the governor's office, has a lot bigger issues to worry about?
So this is a common theme from the left. And for whatever reason, they don't believe that people can do two things at once. The West Virginia Attorney General's office is currently leading on 5 energy briefs. We're leading a multi-state lawsuit against the state of New York. We are drafting and pursuing between 6 and 8 large-scale anti-opioid lawsuits. I have completely had to remake the office. I'm trying to find furniture. I like to think that I'm successful enough to maybe walk and chew gum at the same time. And I think it's inappropriate for people to say that you can only do these 3 things because they always choose their 3 things. And when a miscarriage of justice has happened to a group of young men who carry the flying WV on their chest, I think that's important enough to be part of the conversation of the things that we're doing, especially when you consider the amount of money the state of West Virginia puts into WVU athletics, the amount of time that the people of West Virginia put into watching WVU athletics, the amount of energy and emotion and sadness that the people of West Virginia have felt with WVU and Marshall and athletic departments throughout our state. It's important. It's important to a huge portion of our population, both financially and emotionally. And we are not incapable of it. It's not binary. I'm not doing these other things, but for whatever reason, liberals seem to think that the government can only do one thing at a time when, successful people and people with high energy who get up early in the morning and go to bed late at night, they're able to shockingly accomplish all the parts of their job. And this feels like a part of our job to me.
I saw where officials at WVU said that they fully supported the efforts and what came out of the press conference yesterday. Were they aware, though, that you guys were going to do the press conference ahead of time? Were there any conversations there?
Yeah, I'm in touch with Ren a lot. He is a truly wonderful athletic director. Ren understands the people of West Virginia, and he understands from a business standpoint and from a personality standpoint, how do we keep West Virginia at the forefront of athletics? How do we make sure that the incredible traditions that we have on our soccer fields, on our basketball courts, and on our football fields, and every other bit of athletics that WVU excels at, how do we make sure that we stay at the top of the heap? Because we are a small school. We are a small state. We do have less revenue, but what we have is an incredible history, the best fan base in the country, and Ren is the perfect guy at the perfect moment to be leading this athletic department. And so I like to make sure he knows everything that we're working on, because he and I, number one, we're about the same age. Our kids are about the same age. And I think he's doing a great job. And
Does his daughter play on a team called the Porcupines?
His daughter lives in Morgantown, but I would love to have a matchup between the St. Matthews Porcupines and whatever team his team plays for. But I communicate with the university and with Ren constantly. And so they were well aware of what we were working on. And, it's a relationship that I think is important because they are a huge part of our state government. The athletic department at WVU, I haven't looked at the statistics, but might be like the 5th or 6th largest business in the state, right? Yeah. It's a big deal. And our office treats it that way, and we like to make sure that they're well informed of what it is we're working on.
Before we let you go, USA Today columnist Dan Wolken out with a column, and he called this.
You mean Dan Woken?
I kind of saw the irony in there when I saw it, but it's actually
that actually is irony. By the way, Dave. Most people confuse irony with just similarity. That's actual irony.
I'm not just eye candy. I actually know some
I know.
things.
I've heard that.
Dan Wolken said he called it making a mockery of real problems in West Virginia and embarrassing for the people of West Virginia.
Where is Dan from?
I do not know.
If Dan wants to come and grab a hot dog or a pepperoni roll and a beer with me, I will explain to him why people that aren't from here don't understand us. And I will explain to Dan why writing a 2,000-page mindless article once a day is probably the limit of his capacity, while the elected officials here in West Virginia utilize 24 hours in a day and are able to juggle multiple balls at the same time.
As you utilize those 24 hours today, what can we expect as far as the NCAA is concerned today?
It's hard for me to predict what they're going to do. I know what I would like for them to do.
And that is
to answer our questions. And I would like for them to modernize their procedure, modernize their approach, and really dig down into what are the goals of the NCAA tournament. You know, what are we trying to do? Is it about the NCAA making money? Is it about the best 68 teams in the tournament? What is it about? Because there's a lot of people who are investing too much time and too much energy and too much money into this process for it to be this cryptic, this antiquated, and for it to be this unpredictable.
Well, we will keep watching today, no doubt about it. State Attorney General J.B. McCuskey, thank you for being here today.
You know, I kind of feel cool being the guinea pig in here, though. This is nice.
We are appreciative.
Well, next we're actually going to put you on the air because none of this was on the air.
Well, that's fine. Yeah, that was a good practice. But I will tell you that it is a lot better not only talking to you. So this show is at least 100% better now that Amanda's here because I don't only have to talk to you.
I don't disagree with that at all. And I would say the same thing back to you.
Well, thanks, guys. Good luck on this new show. I think you guys are going to do great.
Kindness. We appreciate it.
And anything else you guys need, give me a shout. And as always, let's go Mountaineers.
All right, 9:23. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you in part by Bridge Valley, offering custom tailored training to supply skilled graduates and apprenticeships for your company. Visit bridgevalley.edu. Back after this on the Voice of Charleston, WCHS.
Brought to you by the Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses. Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses care for your family.
Banking is not just about numbers. It's about people. Are you connected? Without a community bank, your financial journey might feel lonely. And who will you turn to when life gets complicated? From checking accounts to loans, Poca Valley Bank has you covered. We are here to support you with personalized service and genuine care across our 8 locations. Poca Valley Bank, your community bank where relationships matter. Visit PocaValleyBank.com for more information. Equal housing lender. Member F.
When it comes to finding great deals on suits, timing's everything. And now's the time, because Macy's semi-annual suit sale is here. Save 40 to 60% on new suits and blazers from Calvin Klein and Michael Kors, with performance suits starting at $99.99. And if you need advice on the perfect fit, Macy's free personal stylists are here at the store and ready to help. If you need a new suit, there's no time like the present, because the Macy's suit sale won't be back until the fall. Savings off already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
In town for the high school basketball tournaments? Shop Yared's in the Bridge Road shops for the best in men's brand shoes, including Magnotti, Donald Pliner, Oncloud, and Birkenstock, plus a range of accessories and other wares for men of all ages. So while you're here for the tournament, come shop in between games for that special someone or yourself. Yared's at the Bridge Road shops, Charleston. Call 342-SHOE. Open 10 to 6 Monday through Thursday, 10 to 5 Friday and Saturday, and 12:30 to 5 on Sunday.
925 Piggly Wiggly hotline 304-345-5858. Tony V. Taylor text 304-935-5008. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, presented in part by your hometown baseball team, the Charleston Dirty Birds. Going to be a great season of baseball over at the Go-Mart Ballpark. Tuesdays, $2 Tuesday, $2 tickets, popcorn, hot dogs, sodas, and more. Wednesdays, bring your dogs to the park for Woof Wednesday. Thursdays, Thirsty Thursdays, $1 beers and waters. Fridays, Freebie Fridays with all sorts of giveaways. Fireworks after the game on Saturdays. Sundays are family fun days. Kids 12 and under get in for free. For more, visit dirtybirdsbaseball.com. Amelia Knisley from West Virginia watches here. We'll get to her momentarily. Let me knock out some text. Text says, at the governor's presser yesterday, J.B. McCuskey came across as the leader in the room, the one in charge. Morrissey came across as a clown. Text says, I agree with JB. These people who complain that these guys are focusing on one thing and neglecting another, nothing more than a fable. People can do 2 things at a time. I roll my eyes every time I hear people making those juvenile level complaints. Text says, WVU not being selected for the tournament couldn't have come at a better time for Pat Morrissey and the West Virginia GOP. They now have something to distract the people from the executive branch and the legislature's inept legislative abilities and misguided policies. People, WVU's not dancing this year. Move on. Don't let the GOP's lawfare distract from their quality of work thus far. Text says, what's wrong with the NCAA? One of those initials. What's wrong with the NCAA is people like McCuskey and politicians destroying amateur sports, just like high school transfers. In our state, nobody wanted it. Politicians pushed it down our throats. College sports are now being paid because politicians got involved. Just look at our state, says a texter. Amanda Barren is here. Let's welcome into the show Amelia Knisley from West Virginia Watch. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. How are you guys?
We're doing fine. Thank you for being here. I was going to have you on the show yesterday, but you were covering the Judiciary Committee. You did send me a text early yesterday morning saying you were hoping to have a day or two devoid of talking about children's things. Were we able to maintain that yesterday? Not children's things. I was trying not to say genitals, but I said genitals.
Oh.
So go ahead.
No, we were, well, how do I say this? Not in the it didn't come up in the meeting I covered, but it's still certainly buzzing around the Capitol. But I speak for the press corps this time by saying we all want to move forward. The bill has already been signed. The end.
We hope. We certainly hope it is.
Amelia, thanks so much for joining us this morning. It's Amanda Barren. Just want to start. Today's the last day to introduce bills. What are you expecting to see today?
Well, I will say something I'm watching this morning in Senate Education is a teacher pay raise bill. That's something that the governor prioritized in his State of the State address, and we haven't really seen that get much traction. So I'm interested to see that. I don't know that I'm looking for anything else to be introduced that hasn't been here so far, but I'll certainly be watching for it. But I think we have a lot of education measures that are really getting off the ground and moving at this point in session.
Certainly education's been at the forefront. And one thing you do such an amazing job covering and giving a voice to the most vulnerable or our foster children, the more than 6,000 of them across the state. We saw the hearing a couple of weeks ago with the Department of Human Services, Cabinet Secretary Alex Mayer, about the study that they wanted to do. And obviously he said that he believes he can take this department, take a look at the things that are going on there, what's working and what's not working, and move forward. Are you surprised by what we are hearing about foster care this session or what we're not hearing about foster care this session?
Well, thank you for the kind words, first of all. That's a great question. So I'm going to say yes and no. We do have, especially in the House, we have some foster care bills that address some problems in the system. From the outside, they may not look like substantial bills, but they're problems that foster parents, guardian ad litem that help children in court have brought to lawmakers, and they're really trying to work on those issues. But I would say overall, I'm surprised that I just really don't see that fire for fixing foster care at the forefront of the legislature. So I'm seeing it in committees, especially, like I said, in the House, but it really hasn't been a major issue. And it's certainly not from the governor's office, right? Like we've seen a press conference for the NCAA, or we've seen a press conference for citing the gender definition bill, but we haven't heard much out of his office about foster care this session.
Amelia Knisley is with us from West Virginia Watch. You mentioned that there are some bills relating to foster care, and maybe they're just not the splashy bills that are making big headlines. Can you can you go a little deeper as far as maybe one that you think is making some progress that might help these children?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I would choose the guardian ad litem bill. So guardian ad litems are court-appointed attorneys that represent the well-being of the child in the court system. So once a child is involved in an abuse and neglect case, they're going to be in the judicial system as well, right? The court's going to determine if their parents are fit to get them back, or if they need to go to an out-of-state placement, or whatever it might be. So these attorneys are really crucial in protecting the well-being of the child. We have an extreme shortage of these attorneys. Extreme is not even a good enough word to describe it.
Lightly, right?
Yeah, and so it holds up these cases. And so when you see children kind of languishing in the system for years without permanency, part of it is this shortage of guardian ad litems. So there's a couple bills that look to address that. One would start a pilot program that would basically fund them, either part-time or full-time, to make sure that these children have representation in court. And, you're right. Does that sound like a super splashy bill? No, but that is a problem that our judges and our foster parents have brought to lawmakers and said this is really causing some permanency gaps for these children. So I think that's a good example of lawmakers hopefully listening to their constituents and responding to a problem. And I will say, too, this bill is sponsored by Delegate Adam Burkhammer, who's a Republican from Lewis County and a foster parent. And so he's seen this firsthand.
29 minutes away from 10. Biggly Piggly Wiggly hotline 304-345-5858. Tony Vitaylor text 304-935-5008. Vaccines are your best protection against severe disease from flu and COVID-19. If you're 65 or older, risk less, do more with this season vaccines. Get started at vaccines.gov, paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Had Senator Mike Stewart yesterday, Amelia, on the show. He was talking about, again, the foster care issue in this state. And again, as we said, anytime I have you on, it seems like that's kind of, you cover a lot of things and you cover them well, but that's kind of in your wheelhouse. He referred to the I guess the little heated exchange that happened about foster care with he and the other gentleman last week. You want to expound upon that a little bit?
Oh gosh, sure. I mean, I will say in the years that I've been covering the Capitol, it definitely was one of the top most heated exchanges between a lawmaker and an agency head. And they can get into it a little bit, but it was certainly a heated one. I mean, Senator Stewart put forth a bill that would do a third-party study of our foster care system. And I believe it was going to require DOHS to pay for that study. And the head of DOHS, Alex Mayer, he's been on the job for a couple months, said, I don't need that study. I'm looking at the problems now and trying to implement them. And, lawmakers have the power to go ahead and do the study. They don't have to do what an agency head tells them to do. But Senator Stewart's response to that was just a very fiery exchange. Like, okay, well, we tried to offer you help. We tried to offer you third-party help to come in and get your problems or outline your problems, and you're refusing it. So when this is not fixed in 2 years and when there's still children in danger, it's going to rest solely on you.
Yeah,
and it was very, very intense.
It was indeed very intense. And I had Senator Stewart on the show yesterday, and he just basically said, tired of the excuses and so on and so forth. So today, as we said, you said there's not, a whole lot big on your agenda today. But in the world of the legislature, Amelia, that could change at a moment's notice, right?
Yeah, I don't want to say there are big things. It's just a lot of bills are really starting to move now. This new House committee process certainly has changed things this year.
Are you a fan of that process, Amelia, from a media member? Are you a fan of that process?
Yes, I think so. I think it's been challenging to figure out when to write about bills because they're in committee for so many days. But something I love about it is by the time the bill hits the floor, I'm really familiar with it. Okay. And that, I think, is really helpful. And I've actually seen lawmakers seem much more familiar with legislation this session. And so I think that part's been cool. But I would say there's still some kinks to be worked out. I know I've had constituents reach out to me, readers, I should say, reach out to me and say they still aren't posting the agendas early enough for me to get down to Charleston because, of course, this committee process replaced the public hearing process. But for me, in my capacity, I feel like it's been helpful.
And the question becomes, will they do it again next year? Will this be something moving forward? Any feel on that at this point?
I can't imagine that they would walk it back after all the work to implement it this year. But, of course, I always say I don't like to predict the future in this building. So
it's understandable.
We'll see.
Understandable.
Not a good idea. Amelia Knisley, we all will be watching you, listening to you, reading you. All the media is with you. How's that? We appreciate you. Yes. Appreciate you being here, as always. We'll talk again soon. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Bye, y'all.
Amelia Knisley from West Virginia Watch. Yeah, I said that, Amanda, about Amelia. Every time I have her on, it seems like we talk about one particular thing and it all has to do with kids. Amelia covers so many things and does it so dang well. However, you can when you read her stuff, you can kind of see the passion that she has for this particular topic.
And I think all reporters come at things, we all have our own lens that we see things through. And that's why it's important to have such a variety of reporters. But she's a mom. And so you don't get much deeper than that when it comes to the welfare of children. And, she's sweet on Twitter when you see the things she posts about, mom life. And so I think that anybody can feel for a foster child and want that system improved. But when you're a mom, you see it through different eyes.
Are you doing any better than I am at referring to it as Twitter?
No, I'm not actually. I'm sorry, X.
No, that's why I said,
yes.
Because I have a hard time. I think it's when you use it as a verb that it becomes an issue.
And now you say post instead of tweet.
or I X'd. That just, when you say I X, that sounds all kinds of wrong.
Well, if you look now, like where you would normally, where it would have normally previously said retweet, it says repost. So, but X sounds kind of cool. And that is Elon's son's name.
And he can do what he wants because he's Elon Musk.
There you go.
I guess. But Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, presented in part by Huston's Pizza. This month, get a large 18-inch pepperoni pizza and a pepperoni calzone for $21.99. Eat in, pick up, or get delivery. Find your closest Huston's at HustonsPizza.com. Coming up on tomorrow's show, our good friend and healthy eating guru, Millie Snyder, is going to be here. Also, Dawn Miller. Speaking of folks that were, I know Dawn was a writer at one time. She's involved in this thing called Read-a-Palooza. And she's been on the show the last couple of years. It's a big event, encouraging reading, which we all should do. And Don will be on the show coming up tomorrow as well.
Reading and eating healthy. It doesn't get much better than that. I was at Man and Meal the other day. Of course, Millie Snyder, retired. Shape Shop went to the Health Right. Now Man and Meal is using that space, and they're so grateful for that space and what they do. Her picture's up there, too.
I can tell you, Millie is never going to retire.
No, she's precious.
She just changes jobs a lot. She'll be on the show tomorrow. And I will have to say, because I am kind of a foodie, and if you follow me on social media, you will know that. She doesn't give me too hard of a time when I post a picture of a pizza or a cheeseburger or something like that. But when I post something healthy, either that my wife has made or I've gotten out in a restaurant somewhere, she will compliment me. Wow. But she doesn't give me too much crap about it. Text says, again, there is more attention being paid to NCAA basketball issues than the 6,000 foster kids in state custody in West Virginia. Again, the legislature's super-duper majority, all talk, no action. Folks need to elect Amelia to get things done, says a texter. Text says, Dave, we the people need to watch our streams for illegal activities, take pictures, and turn into businesses that have rusted tanks or any other violations, protect our drinking water from being poisoned again, says a texter. We're going to take a break. A couple of news notes I want to get to. The city of Charleston has a budget for the new fiscal year. We'll get into that. Plus, I want to elicit a little comment from you out on this, and it has to do with House Bill 2003. It was advanced by the House Education Committee yesterday. It would, for the most part, ban cell phones within classrooms. How do you feel about that? We'll get into that. But your calls and texts are welcome, too. We're back after this on the Voice of Charleston, WCHS.
Brought to you by the Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses. Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses have been creating jobs in West Virginia since 1997.
I'm Doug Leach, founder and CEO of Ascension Recovery Services. We've done a number of projects with Jarrett Construction. Finding people that really care about what they do and care about what we do is pretty unique. In Jarrett Construction, they care. They're really, really good people. Good people do the right thing, and they're very skilled. They have all the qualities that make up just a perfect construction partner, and they just built us a phenomenal building.
Right on time, right on budget. Call on Jarrett Construction.
Working full-time but ready to take the next step in your career? Bridge Valley's stackable credentials allow you to take classes, get certified, and build toward a degree, all without leaving the workplace. Get certification in QuickBooks, Lean Six Sigma, and more. Keep earning while you learn. And you may be eligible to go tuition-free with West Virginia Invests. Flexible, affordable, and 100% online. Bridge Valley, stackable credentials for career growth. Enroll today.
Owning a home comes with responsibilities. The Kanawha County Sheriff's Office wants to remind you of a very important date. As of April 1st, unpaid 2024 taxes are considered delinquent. If you haven't paid your taxes by now, you have until May 1st to avoid publication. Remember, after April 1st, you cannot pay the half-year fee. You must pay the full year amount. Again, May 1st is the deadline to avoid publication. Visit kanawsheriff.us to learn more about paying your 2024 taxes.
You've probably heard of the credit union difference, but have you ever experienced it? Members Choice West Virginia Federal Credit Union is a community-focused, member-first, not-for-profit, and democratically controlled cooperative. Our accounts are insured up to $250,000 by the NCUA, and all our profits are returned to members in the form of dividends. We offer a full suite of financial products to serve your needs, and our field of membership covers 20 counties across the state of West Virginia. Make the switch to MCWV today and learn more at memberschoicewv.com. Restrictions may apply.
19 away from 10, Tuesday edition of the show. Bigly, Piggly, Wiggly hotline, 304-345-5858. Tony the Taylor text, 304-935-5008. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you in part by Fresh Air Filters of Tays Valley. Fresh Air, your trusted filter experts for both your home or business. Call 304-440-1104 or visit freshairfilters.us, because everyone deserves fresh air. Let me see. I already got some text on the cell phone issue. Get to those momentarily. Text says, y'all are great together. Well,
that is very nice. Thank you.
Well,
known each other for a long time.
There's one in a row, as a former boss of mine used to say. No, I talked about it. We talked about it for a while. We're going to start a new show, Amanda and I, next week on the Metro News platform. It'll be across the state of West Virginia. It'll air here in Charleston, of course, on WCHS. It'll be noon to 3. And it's somebody asked me yesterday, man, I was out somewhere and somebody said, so what's the show going to be like? And I went, let me get back to you on that. It's going to be a work in progress. Now, I think we're going to have fun with it. Noon to 1 is primarily going to be you doing the news thing, because that's what you do.
Yes.
I'll join sometime probably toward the end of the noon hour after 1. You and I will go back and forth a little bit. Then we get you down the street to your real job.
Yeah, and then I'll head down to 13 News and do that job.
And then I'll stick around. And one thing I am going to do on the show, though, yesterday, and I talked to some folks from the Municipal League. When I started doing this show in 2020, I had to think for a minute. It was COVID. Nothing counted back then. I did a segment called Mayor Monday, and I started off every Monday with Charleston Mayor Amy Goodwin, and then because of scheduling issues and whatever, we started doing a different mayor every Monday. And again, a lot of the mayors in our community, they're not all, full-time mayors. The Huntington, they're not all like the Charleston or Huntington mayor. They have other jobs. And so it sometimes would be a struggle to be able to get a mayor who wasn't working at the plant or, wasn't doing something else. So I am going to bring back the Mayor Monday segment. However, it's going to be, from all over the state of West Virginia. So I'm looking forward to talking to mayors in Martinsburg and in Milton and in Matewan. I mean, all the only mayors with M's will be allowed on the show. But I am going to bring that back. But one thing I am going to do on my portion of the show too is there's going to be a whole lot of time for calls and texts. Not as much guest heavy as what the early part of the show is, but I mean at maybe say 2:30 on. All calls, all texts.
Yeah, I think it'll be really great for people to have that outlet throughout the day and do that. And we're going to, in that first hour, really focus on the news of the day, what's breaking at that hour. So often a news conference has just wrapped up or one is taking place. So we can dip into those news conferences. We can listen and bring you, exactly what's happening the moment that it is happening. So I think that's going to be really special. And what is also very special is when you live in West Virginia, wherever the news is, it's local, because that's just how we roll. Mm-hmm. It feels local, whether you, like you said, you're in the Eastern Panhandle or, in the Southern coal fields. You care about what's going on. And the show I do at 5:30 every day, Tonight Live, is a statewide show. And what I find from viewers so many times is that they just love knowing what's going on in their family's community in a way that they don't have to go on the internet and search it out. And I think that this will give us an opportunity, to create that cohesive afternoon, a local afternoon. We're really excited about that.
And if it doesn't work, I just happen to know, because of my years in radio, in my attic, I have stacks of old Casey Kasem American Top 40s. We'll just roll those.
Keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars, my friend.
Indeed. A couple of quick notes here. The city of Charleston has a budget. Aaron Parker, story posted WVMetroNews.com. City Council last night voted unanimously to pass a new budget for fiscal year 2026, $113 million budget that sees all the critical services and operations maintained, does not include any new taxes or increases to current city taxes. You can read all about that at the part of Aaron's story at WVMetroNews.com. All right, I want to talk about cell phones for a moment. And by the way, a little bit later on the show, we are going to go live to the Capitol. If their schedule allows, around 9:55 or so, we'll go talk to Meadows and Wilson, if their schedule allows. HB 2003 was advanced by the House Education Committee, and it would, for the most part, ban cell phones from classrooms. Now, the bill, Amanda, mandates county boards of education to develop policies for the upcoming school year. All right. The bill was introduced, if you'll recall, in the State of the State. The governor talked about this.
He got applause.
About that. So I'd like to maybe get some feedback, and I've already got some from you folks. Call or text. What do you think about? And I think a lot of it, Amanda, has to do with how the whole thing is going to play out. It's not a simple no cell phones, leave them at home. It's not that sort of thing at all. All 55 county boards have to come up with a plan and submit it for how they plan to implement this, because most people would say what we're doing now with having kids connected to devices is not working. And I will say this. I think the parents will have a much bigger issue with this than what the kids will.
There is something to be said about being able to connect with your student at school any moment, any time that you might want to. I think there's also something to be said when you think about, I know as an adult, how distracting a phone can be throughout the day. And so there are great conversations that need to be had about the convenience of the phone and the concentration of the student. And that's something that they're debating. And honestly, right now, this bill seems to be moving forward in a way that's trending, that it's going to be a law. Interestingly enough, Ohio has passed a similar bill and been signed into law. And you look at some of the things and the comments from from teachers who say they're able to get that focus back from children that they maybe haven't had for a while. And so that's something that is being looked at right now. There are about 8 other states that have signed these phone-free school acts. Students would have accessibility in some cases. In some of these states, they have them at lunch. They can have them when they're in the hallways. But once they're in class, that phone is stowed away.
What they've done in some areas that I've seen and I've read about is there's a lockbox in the beginning at the front of the classroom, and the students go up on. Picture like a locker, for lack of a better term. They go up and they put the phones in there and they lock them, and at the end of the class they can get them. Now, some schools have gone much further than that. I guess, and I'll get to some text here momentarily. I guess I'm the old guy. I'm the guy that's you're the person with the computer. I'm the person with 10,000 pieces of paper over here.
I prefer the paper. This is just a means to an end this morning.
But I will say this. Somehow we managed to go all day when I was a kid, got on the school bus at 7:15, 7:30 in the morning, did not talk to my parents at all until I got home from school. They didn't have to, there was no way to text me to tell me about practice or about, after school this or that, whatever. We managed to do it. And I'm telling you, write it down. As my grandmother would say, I done took and told you. All right. The parents will have a much bigger issue with this than what the kids will.
Did you have a payphone at your school?
Yes.
We had a payphone, and I remember you'd call collect.
Yeah, or, you could go to the office and you could say, I need to, I need to, and they would ask you, I never did that.
But there might be some things, some other things that could come along with this, perhaps residual effects. There are going to be some who say, if there's an emergency, I want my kid to have their phone that I pay for in their hand, be able to text me or call me the second they need me. And there are some others who might say, if we can't communicate about practice all day, if we can't communicate about what's for dinner, if we can't communicate about X, Y, and Z, it's going to force us to be maybe a little more organized and create some different structure that we don't have to create in a world without that technology.
Yeah. Text says, cell phones should not be banned in classrooms. The use of cell phones in the classroom needs banned. In the classroom, I think the texter is saying, empowers teachers to strictly enforce the rules and increase the penalty if a student breaks the rule. There is no need in revoking the devices. That goes too far, says a texter. Text says, I'd like to see school phone banning go further than the classroom. How about students keep them in their lockers the entire day and only check them in between classes? Then maybe when a fight breaks out, the others may be more likely to help break it up instead of filming it and shouting, oh, to get clicks on social media. There's somebody that's connected right there, no pun intended. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you part by Live Healthy, West Virginia, presented by WVU Medicine. Live Healthy tackles pressing health issues of all types. Great resource. Check out the latest episodes, WVMetroNews.com, under the podcast menu, and start your journey towards better health today. Biggly Piggly Wiggly Hotline, 304-345-5858. Tony the Taylor, text 304-935-5008. Back after this on the Voice of Charleston, WCHS.
To you by the Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses. Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses are small businesses with big impact, including Generations Physical Therapy and Snap Fitness.
When you need a fighter, you need us. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm for the people.
Office 222 Capitol Street, Charleston. Cases will be handled by West Virginia licensed attorneys. The attorney in this ad is not licensed in West Virginia. ForThePeople.com.
Nobody does President's Day like Thornhill. Hey, it's Sydney, inviting you to Thornhill Ford Lincoln on the Thornhill Motor Mile, where you can find the best of the best in presidential savings. We're talking Benjamins, new 24 Ford Escape or Bronco Sport, available up to $6,500 off. 24 F-150 STX, up to $8,000 off. 24 Expedition, up to $14,000 off. You want it, and Thornhill has it. Plus, Thornhill's 10-year, 150,000-mile warranty with your new purchase. Visit us online at thornhillford.net and on the road to Total Savings, US 119, Chapmanville. Qualify for all offers through Ford Motor Credit. See Thornhill for all details.
We all want what's best for our kids. Safe, healthy choices. But some politicians, right here in West Virginia, are going way too far. They're pushing a ban on safe ingredients in our grocery stores. That ban would jack up prices on almost everything we buy. Banning these types of ingredients would eliminate 60% of the food on grocery shelves, hiking prices even more when we're already struggling. Worse, it would cost thousands of jobs all across West Virginia. Governor Morrissey can stop this reckless ban and veto it. We just can't afford it. It goes way too far. There are more sensible solutions. It should be our choice, not the government's. Call Governor Morrissey at 304-558-2000. Tell him to keep growing our economy and stand with hard-working West Virginians at yourcartyourchoice.com. Paid for by Americans for Food and Beverage Choice, with support from the American Beverage Association.
It's 8 away from 10. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you by Pinnacle Consultants. Pinnacle offers a 4-phase assessment for your properties: inspection, sampling, and analysis, comprehensive reporting, and management planning. Visit pinnaclecorp.net, because what you don't know can hurt you. Biggly Piggly Wiggly hotline 304-345-5858. Tony Vitaylor text 304-935-5008. Text says cell phones should not be allowed in the workplace unless it's work related and issued by the employer. A lot of companies actually have those rules. I don't know how many people follow them. And you kind of looked at me when I said I think the parents are going to have a much bigger issue with this than the kids. I really, really think I've done a lot of reading on this, what it's done in other states. And the kids, when they were interviewed, the high school students or whatever, or middle school or whatever, they were said, well, once I got used to it, it was okay. Sure. It was my mom that had the heart attack over the whole thing, because sometimes they have a hard time in letting the kids go.
We don't understand the pressure that these children are facing right now, having these cell phones. You know, I remember coming home from vacation and being so excited to check the answering machine. You know, it was like my mom was like, nope, we have to have everything in the house. It has cars to be unpacked. Right. But that was so exciting to have that communication. And now communication is almost overwhelming. So you have to wonder, you know, maybe these kids, if they say, hey, you can't have this cell phone in school, the kind of pressure that might take off them, it also might really cause some pressure on parents because they don't have that access to their child that they have grown accustomed to.
And maybe the parents are going to have to look at the kids and say, okay, you're going to have to remember, I'm not going to text you and remind you that at 3:15, you're going to be X amount of, X place, and I'm going to pick you up and we're going to go to practice or whatever. I mean, again, I'm the old guy. We got on the bus and, they said, okay, at 4:00, remember, you have this to go to. You just got to remember it.
But beyond that, the focus and the study and focusing on what is important and what is important is what that teacher is telling the kids and the lessons that they need to be learning, and using that time in the most valuable way. Sometimes kids learn. I remember doing a story in Boone County years ago, and this could be very different now, but this was many years ago. I remember them saying, we text the kids because that's the way we can connect with them right now. That's the way that they're communicating. And so you hear that phrase over and over again, meet people where they are. And I found that with some younger colleagues. They're not going to respond to an email, but if you text them, they're going to see the text message. And so it's just an evolving process.
The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you by Morgan & Morgan. If you're injured, hire Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Text says, I want my child to have a religious exemption for the cell phone. Okay. I think that was done a little tongue-in-cheek there. Text says, emergency situations in schools can be really big deals. Cell phones are tools to deal with major emergencies. Not having them in major emergency situations will be a very bad scenario, God forbid, if and when it happens. Also, students with a camera at their fingertips deters teachers from using abusive language or behavior, says the text. And I had a good buddy of mine who's I think his son just graduated from high school last year, and something, again, not having kids, I don't realize. He said, you'd be surprised at my kid's school has an app, and that's how they communicate things are through their app. They go to the school's app. So
Sure.
Tex says, Dave is absolutely correct. The helicopter moms are the ones that will have the most difficulty, says it. Let me be politically correct and say helicopter dads too.
The parents.
All right. Dave, all the kids these days are listening to those newfangled AM radios and listening to all that jitterbug music. Next thing you know, they'll want film strips in class, says a texter. Let's see if Mr. Wilson and Mr. Meadows are at the Capitol. Gentlemen, and I use that term loosely. Good morning.
Morning, Dave.
How you doing, Dave?
And Amanda. I'm well. Cell phones have ruined the country.
Wow. I think we were a heck of a lot better off without them, but that's just me.
Do you remember going to school and at like at 7 o'clock in the morning, you would go over, like your mom says, okay, what are you doing? Well, I got football practice. I'm going to stick around and watch the soccer game. I'm going to stick around for whatever after that. I'll be home by 9.
Mm-hmm.
And then you didn't see your parents again and have contact with them until 9 o'clock that night.
I just said that a little bit earlier.
We didn't have white vans running around, though, either back in the day.
Your chances.
Sure you did. You just went and got candy from them and left.
As
they gave you a ride.
And that's the story of how we hired Dave Wilson. Except it wasn't candy, it was bacon. That's what it was. Actually,
I saw him at Chick-fil-A the other day. It was a Chick-fil-A sandwich.
Actually, statistically, your kids were more likely to be kidnapped in the 70s than they are today. Look it up.
Okay.
All right.
I'll take your word for it.
What's on the agenda?
Defensive there.
What's on the agenda today at the Capitol, guys?
Well, I don't know if you've heard, but we are launching, not we as in the stations, but the state of West Virginia is launching a major investigation into the unjust snub of WVU basketball from the NCAA tournament. J.B. McCuskey is going to join us at 10:06. What else are we getting into today?
So
Brad will be by at some point?
Brad will be by. We have Senator Patrick Martin at 10:30 on SB 505, which is this energy bill that supposedly will cut utility rates. We'll get into that. It also would, essentially, potentially create the use of more coal. I have some questions about that, but, we'll talk energy and try to understand it.
There was actually, I don't know if, did you see Dan, I think you saw it, Dave, Dan Wolken's column in the USA Today?
Yes, sir.
Yep, great look for the state of West Virginia.
Yeah.
Compared us to an SNL skit.
Yeah, so. I thought that when McCuskey was on this show earlier, I forgot to bring that up. Yeah, he said he was waiting for, the writer said he was waiting for Kenan Thompson to come out at any time and say live from New York and Saturday Night Live. Guys, we'll be listening at 10:06. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
All right, I'm glad you improved the show today.
Yeah, that's the whole entire goal. All right. Thanks, guys.
Have a great day, guys.
Take care.
Tex says nearly all communication in Putnam secondary schools are done through online apps. Tex says, when did the rise in ADHD cases jump? It was after kids had phones. Look at how zoned out they get with phones and tablets. They should get rid of those, too, in class. Again, I will say this quickly. I spent a lot of time in classrooms when I worked for the state, and I would go in and do voter registration drives and whatnot. It's as big a problem for the teachers as it was for the kids.
Sure. I mean, we're all susceptible to these distractions that are out there, and it is one. So it's just like anything, too much of a good thing, maybe never not a good thing.
All right. Metro News Midday with Amanda and myself will begin next Monday, noon
We're
to
looking
3
forward to it.
on all the Metro News platform stations. Coming up on this show tomorrow, nutrition expert Millie Snyder and Don Miller of the upcoming Rita Palooza. I will see you tomorrow. Till then, have fun and love somebody.
WCHS AM 96.5 FM Charleston, 104.5 Cross Lanes, a WVRC media station. We're proud to live here too.